Today's episode is brought to you by Mia Plastic Surgery. At Mia Plastic Surgery, they believe in enhancing your natural and inherent beauty while helping you to achieve the look and confidence that you deserve. They also employ a number of minimally invasive services to address your concerns and meet your goals. They specialize in a variety of medical procedures of the face, breast, body, and intimate areas. Dr. Fee Nguyen, known as the Pageant Doc, is the official aesthetic sponsor for Miss USA, Miss Texas, and Miss Houston. For more information, please visit allaboutmia.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another installment / episode / whatever the hell this is of The Dumb Show. So back in 2011, a while back, this little idea of mine kind of started formulating and bubbling in my head. And by 2012, I executed this idea into fruition. I won't get into the deep details of how it came to be, but I created Runway Houston in 2012. That was the very first one. Even though it wasn't called Runway Houston, it was the first one. And by the third year, it was on par as being one of the biggest shows in Houston. By the fourth and fifth year, it was definitely the biggest show in Houston. And by the time that I stopped doing it, pre-COVID, it was definitely something that was larger than anything else in the southern United States. That wasn't Miami Fashion Week. Like, Miami Fashion Week was the big one, and then there was Runway Houston by attendance. I never thought in my wildest dreams that when I started thinking about creating a fashion show that it would grow to the scale that it did, but it did. And along with those growing pains and, the scope just enlarging year after year, and then the presence of the designers that were involved and some of the talent that was involved, it definitely changes you as a person. I know that I can sit here now and look back and be like, yeah, I was really fucked up for a lot of the things that I did. Utilizing that power and that status, definitely guilty of that. And I have a guest today, and that's initially how I met her, but I want to go into a little bit of detail on something that she mentioned to me that I really wasn't aware of, but in hindsight, was fully aware of it, right? So each time that I have a guest on the show, I send them a questionnaire, they fill out the questions, and the last question's always, what have I done to wrong you? And how has that affected our relationship? Things of that nature. I want people to speak on some of the fucked up shit that I've done, because I have no shortage of mistakes that I've made, right? And what she wrote really brought me back down to earth and grounded me, because a lot of the reason why I stopped doing Runway Houston, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that I hated how it turned me into somebody that I didn't like. And when you're in the middle of it, you don't realize that you're making these mistakes because you're in the middle of the cornfield. You're looking around and you don't see anything wrong. And the moment you step out of the cornfield at an elevated perspective or from a different perspective, you realize how close you were to being out or how deep you were into the maze or whatever. And in the midst of it, you just don't see that. You don't acknowledge what you're doing. And it just, you're going along just doing things. And in some cases, they can be very, very wrong. So my guest today wrote that she, first of all, she is still currently a model, but that's how we initially met. But she's a very beautiful guest. And, of course, being the person that I was back then, I was attracted to her, and I wanted to go on a date with her, right? And even though she was casted in one of the Runway Houstons, she, I think she may have only walked in two. One, right? But what she wrote down really, opened my eyes, because she said that she felt that because she wouldn't go on a date with me or go out with me, hang out, whatever term I want to use, she felt that she was kind of blacklisted from Runway Houston events, runway events in general, and from a outlying, reaction at the agency that she signed with. And it really fucked me up, because I didn't realize that I had that effect, but I absolutely did. And it's not something that's, deliberate, oh, she won't go on a date with me, so fuck her, I'm going to screw her, not cast her in other shows. But if I say, hey, I asked this girl out, she didn't want to go out with me, then people's perspective of her change, whether I intended for that to happen or not. And so then it's like, oh, well, Omar's my friend. If she doesn't want to hang out with him or something, well, fuck her, right? Anyway, before I even introduce her, I had to get that off my chest because I want to apologize to you. And I just want you to know that that's not me anymore. That's a lot of the reason why I stopped doing Runway Houston. So yes, my guest today is the incredibly talented, beautiful woman that won't go on a date with me, Maggie Judge. Welcome to the Dumb Show.
Thank you. I don't know if the listeners know this, but this is completely unscripted. So I didn't know where we were starting, where we were going, outside of that questionnaire. And when you sent it to me, we got to that question and it said, how have I done you wrong? And to preface that is you and I have sort of reconnected over the last couple weeks. Listening to the podcast and seeing this, it is so powerful what you are doing. And it's something that I'm going to probably talk a lot about over the next bit of time that we're chatting. But seeing you and the knowing that you've pulled yourself out of your own personal hell and where you are now is the reason why I'm here. And is the reason why I felt like I could write that down and say, well, I felt like because I would not, get on the casting couch, I was blackballed. And many people told me that. It wasn't just a...
Please don't go Google the casting couch.
Oh, yeah, if you don't know what that is, don't Google it.
Don't do it.
So it was pretty shitty. Especially, in this industry, it's already very hard to navigate.
It is.
But given that, I'm older, I'm not thirsty, I didn't have to take gigs that I didn't want to take because I have my career as well. It allowed me to take and move forward in my career in a way that I wanted to. And for those that know me and those that don't know me, I will explain I'm a very hard-headed, independent person.
Yeah,
and
you are.
So if somebody gets in my way and stops me from doing what I want to do, it's not okay. But it really sort of pushed me out of the industry in many ways because that was at the height of my career. And being a curvy model in Texas is, from what people have told me, I was it. Because I am tall, I don't look like a traditional curvy model. And so going hold on, if I am the most sought after curvy model in Texas right now, and I'm booking all these other gigs, why am I not booking these Runway Houston gigs? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I felt like just trying to get to it was super complicated. So, and I don't care to talk about that anymore, but I would like everyone to know that the only reason that I'm here is because I do see that change in you. And I knew old Omar and I know true Omar. I don't like to say new. I do the same thing with myself. There's old Maggie and true Maggie. I'm not new. I'm just in alignment with myself. And I see how you're falling into alignment with you. So I'm happy to be here and discuss all the dumb shit you boys do because I got some stories to tell.
Let's go. Okay, so I want to time out real quick. 2 things that really stuck out what you said. First of all, 3 things. First, thank you for saying that. As somebody that I've known for a little while and somebody that has seen different facets of how I am, it means a lot for you to see and acknowledge the change that I make because I honestly am trying to make that. And I've said it over and over again. It's a dead horse. Harper, my daughter, is the driving force of that. I don't want her to see me that way. I don't want her to know that her dad was that way. She'll know. I'll never lie to her. She asked me one day how it was. I'll be honest with her. The 2 things I wanted to talk about is that you did say that you are a hard-headed, strong, vocal, independent woman. And for the listeners out there that don't know Maggie, if somebody is a woman out there that is hard-headed and independent and strong-voiced, it's somebody like you. You've overcome so much. So it's not like we're born with a silver spoon and you're just snobby little bitch or anything like that. You're not, right? You deserve everything that you have going for you, and you are guiding your own path, right? So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
And then, shit, I forgot the other thing that I was gonna say.
I
Yeah,
feel like I need a piece of paper.
I know. Well, I have.
This
I have.
is a good conversation.
I have
Like
again.
I thought.
Okay, so let me paint the picture of Maggie real quick. So she's just not this beautiful, gorgeous, curvy model, right? She's so much more. And I hate really going into depth on bios because I feel like they're just words, right? But you are so accomplished. In your family, you have not been shy about proclaiming that you're the first to go to school and get your degree. You have overcome a lot just to even accomplish that, because that was it's no easy task, period. But the way you did it is wow, right? Previously a nurse, no longer being a nurse right now. Now you're chief of staff of this upstart tech company, Intercosmos, and I'll let you talk about that if you want. But it is a huge position of somebody that created something that was massive, that changed narrative across the tech world, and now he's got a different company. So that's huge. Model with massive following. We're talking tens of thousands of followers. That
It's
and
like 800,000.
I don't know. Sure.
I love all of you.
Yes. And that's created some issues for you. We'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah, she's not just looks, guys. She's undoubtedly gorgeous, but she is brains as well. Let's talk about some dumb shit. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I mean, you wrote some heavy shit, so I'm like, I don't even know where to like even start. But like, okay, let's go back to young Maggie, because you did marry early, young, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want?
I just turned 21.
Just turned 21. So
And we had just met. I think we knew each other for 6 weeks and we moved in together.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so why the rush?
Oh, that will.
I mean, 6 weeks.
At the time, who the fuck really knows about the things we do when we're young and stupid? But I have a lot of trauma growing up with my mom, and a lot of things I had to overcome. I was 12 years old. This is something that I actually haven't talked about before, and something that I've actually started opening up and discussing over the last maybe 10 months or so. But when I was 12, my mother, I don't know if she did it on purpose or not, but she jumped out of a third-story window, and I was there. We were at a party, and I was having a discussion with my dad.
Was it deliberate?
I don't know, because we never talk about it.
Okay.
It was never discussed. My father has passed away since, and he's probably the only person who maybe could have talked. My mom won't talk about it, and I don't really talk with my mom. For obvious reasons. But after that, it was just a lot of overcoming, the craziness of being told I hate you more than I love you kind of situations. And then the first time I ever had sex, I was raped. I was sexually assaulted. It was a month after my 16th birthday. And it was my fault. And things got pretty bad. Oh, I know that now. But the world was a different place back then. We didn't have the greatness of social media. There's good and bad to everything, and we didn't have the connections like we do now, and ways to reach out and find information. There was no internet. But it was things got kind of rough at school, and I just turned to partying more than anything else, and I dropped out of high school. But I knew that, like, I don't know, I needed more. There's always been this voice inside that won't be quiet. It won't shut up. It's just always pushing me forward. I don't know where it's pushing me to. I don't know what it is, but it's just this voice that's always like, don't stop. Like, you're destined for something great.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is, but just keep going. So I think that all just kind of set the stage for when we met. Here was this man who was like, hey, I'm leaving in like 6 weeks. And I was
Where
like,
was he going?
perfect. He was in Chicago for work. I'm born and raised in Chicago. He was there for work, and he was coming to the end of that. And so he was moving back to, I believe at the time he was living in Virginia. He's from California. He was living in Virginia. And I was like, perfect, because in 6 weeks I'll be done with you anyway. So bye. And
Nope.
the 6 weeks came up, and then we're like, no, okay, let's do this. So I think that's why it became, I haven't thought about this in so long. I think that's why we moved in so quickly, was that there was nowhere for him to go. And I was like, oh, just come live with I'll save you. You know, and I think he was the first of my lost boys.
Oh, God.
My friends call him the Maggie's Home for the Lost Boys.
Jeez. So you were 21.
21.
Taking this stray dog, and like, how long did it go before you guys realized that you were going to get married? Like, or at what point did it, like, I mean, because you couldn't have possibly fathomed 6 weeks in that you were going to be with this guy. Like,
Oh no, hopeless romantic.
yeah,
Through
right.
and through.
And you're,
like,
and not to mention, I mean, not to say that
Yeah.
you can't know what you want at 21, but you don't
You
fucking,
don't know.
you don't fucking know what you want at 21. And anybody that thinks that they do is 21.
exactly. 100%.
So yeah, everything is 2020 in hindsight. But yeah, when did you think, or when did y'all both see this as being more than just like a relationship?
Well,
Like-
we went, I think it was maybe, so that was, and I got to do math. So I'd say probably 18 months later.
So it wasn't rushed.
It wasn't, no, I think it was about 18 months later
Okay.
where he was going to propose. We were on a trip, but I was pregnant with our oldest daughter.
So you were already pregnant.
And I told him, I was
Okay.
like, do not propose while I am pregnant. I will say no. I don't want it to be that the only reason we are together is because we're having children. I want it to be because we're choosing each other.
Yeah.
So it was after she was born.
Now, did you want kids this early in the?
Oh gosh, yes. I wanted.
you did?
I
Okay.
wanted 7 kids. I didn't want to be the old lady, you know, with kids. All I've ever wanted my whole life was to be
So
a mom and to be the mom that I didn't have to others.
still need 3 more.
Nope, it's done.
No, just kidding. No.
Only 40. And
I have one, and I'm
11
like,
days.
I have one, and I'm like, I can't. Well, I probably could have another kid for sure, obviously, but like, I can't wrap my head around loving something else the same way I love Harper. Right?
Oh, it's
I know
amazing.
I know it's possible
Yeah.
because all the parents that have more than one kid do it. But
Yeah.
it's like since I don't have more than one kid, can't wrap my head around that.
You just love them in different ways.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
And like I said, I acknowledge that, but like it's still something I can't fathom yet because it
Yeah.
hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you guys get married, and then like, I mean, obviously you have 4 kids.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like, you know, hindsight's always 2020. And so looking back now, I mean, it's never been I don't blame him for all the things that happened. He was his person. He never hid that from me. And so I really have just myself to blame for the rose-colored glasses that I wore and choosing
That we all wear.
Yeah.
All of us do.
I mean, but I think, I don't know, maybe it's an as we get older thing or, you know, trauma healing or ego or whatever it is. You know, we all end up removing them at some point, I hope, you know, because I think sometimes they're there to protect us from the things we don't want to see inside of
And
ourselves.
some people don't want to remove them.
And that's okay. That's true. Some
Ignorance is
people
bliss.
don't. Oh, 100%. And I will say, like, all this spiritual healing and work that I've done with myself, now I'm on the other side. And for quite some time, I guess it's been maybe 2 years now, for a year of that, I was so mad because I'm like, fuck, you made me do all of this work to get to the other side, and I don't want to be here. Because now I'm fully aware of how shitty life is,
Yeah.
and I'm here with it. At
It
least
is-
before, I was blissfully unaware of
It is, but it isn't, right?
Yeah. It's different now. There's just more work that needed to be done.
Yeah, no, it's like same thing with me. Like, not to take it away from you, but like you do all this work to change and be a better person, you know, air quotes, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
right? And you get there and it's like, fuck. Not only do you realize how fucked up things were, but it's like, it's not going to be easy to be in this side of the fence now.
Well,
At all.
actually,
I got to mow the lawn. I got to trim the bush. Like all these things, right? It's a lot of work. Over here, you're just chilling. You're just sunbathing, pina coladas. And it's like, I don't give a fuck, whatever, right? But then you get on the other side and it's like, man, there's work. I got to do work.
you know what? It wasn't the work part. It was the lack of other people that were in the same spot as you.
And that is so rare now.
And it's so lonely,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, especially for an extrovert like me who loves being around people and loves being social and loves
Wait, you're
being out.
extroverted?
Yeah, who knew, right? That was probably the hardest part because I'm like, why did you make me do all of this work? And it was gut wrenching.
You're talking to yourself here.
Crying, like to pull myself out of the depths of hell, the deepest, darkest moments of my life. To then end up like in the sunshine alone and having to clear out all of these people, and to like there's been many nights where I'm like, okay, I want to go out, I want to hang out. I'm just like, I have no one to hang out with.
Yeah.
You know, because the three people that I do want to hang out with are busy. So that was probably the biggest part.
It's a big slap in the face.
And it's different now. Again, it was learning how to readjust, and I think the hardest part of going through all that trauma is now integrating and learning how to live as your true self in this world. And it's actually, without even knowing what I did, my first screenplay that I wrote with a very good friend of mine, Zach Taylor. That's what it's about like how, when you're living the American dream and you realize the American dream is not for you, how do you then get on your true path and like stand honorably in that true path?
Yeah.
You know?
Let's go back.
Yes.
Because I think we've skipped a lot of steps there. You mentioned being in your own personal hell, but we're still in the relationship. You're still married, right?
Yes. So
when did it start to crack and fall apart? And like, what were the things that
day
started?
one. Honestly,
Day
if
one.
I look back now, I
mean,
never
yeah.
even would have spoken to him,
Yeah.
honestly. And, you know, these are things, yes, we do have 4 children together. And I have always been very big on, no matter what, that was our relationship. And he is the father to my children. And it is up to them to decide what kind of relationship they're going to have. And so I don't talk shit about him to them. I have some friends where sometimes they come over and I'm like, we do not have that conversation when my children are around.
Yeah.
That's something else. But it has come up where they've started to ask certain questions, or I see, because our children are teenagers. We have 3 teenagers. Oldest is almost 17 and our youngest is 9. And so I see how they were dating, the men that they were choosing, and they were choosing men who make you chase for their love and attention, just like their father.
Wow.
So I had to sort of bring that up, but that's how he always was. It was very controlling. And it was very manipulative, narcissistic. And I'm not just throwing that word out because it's a hot topic word now. I think it's a hot topic word now because all of us now have a space where we can safely talk about, you know, the things that we've had to deal with. But very abusive, mentally, sexually, physically, however he could put out my light, he did. And I think the easiest way to sum this up was that he knew how desperately I wanted to just see the world and shine my light in the world, that he was so terrified I was going to leave him behind and love the world more than him, that he failed to see how desperately I just wanted to share that with him. And so instead of him looking at his faults and trying to make himself better, he wanted to just dim my light and suppress me so that I would always stay and become this like submissive person to him. You know, and it's this one thing for anybody that's listening. I share this all the time to people because it's one of those slippery slopes that you don't see and how it becomes very abusive, gaslighting, narcissistic control craziness is when you have a conversation with somebody, and this happens at work with friends, with lovers, anything, children, family, you know, parents, where you will say something and you're like, well, actually, no, the sky isn't orange, the sky is blue. And they will just nail you and come in and push until you give them what they want. So now what happens is the next time you come in and there's a disagreement, you're like, oh, fuck, man. He's just like, I don't have 2 hours to kill right now.
Yeah.
I want to save some energy. So I'm just going to say what you want to hear so that I can move on and go someplace else. And that is a dumb man tactic. That is the pushing, and that spinning where you're like, okay, I'll just give you what you want.
It's manipulation.
It's manipulation. That happens sexually. Very frequently, where you're with somebody and you keep saying, no, I don't want to, like, we can just make out or whatever, and they keep pushing to where then they get what you want and you're like, great, you got what you want, but at what cost? Like, I don't.
Now you hate
I
it.
don't
Or not even hate it, but like you resent them.
Yeah.
I've been on a lot of dates. Let's not be shy about that fact. And there's been times where, like, you know, I'm with a girl, with a woman. We start making out, and, you know, things get, you know, towards that sexual point. And they'll say no, or something will happen, right? Like, I'm not ready, or I didn't expect for this to happen, whatever, right? And then they'll ask me, like, are you mad? And I'm like, no, I want you to want this to happen. I'm not going to force you to do it. I've had plenty of sex. I'm going to have a lot more sex.
I'm going to call somebody right after you. You're not going to give it to me this
Well, it's not even, yeah. I mean, that's literally how probably easy it could be if I wanted it to be, right? So that's not my objective and goal, but I just want to convey to women, look, it's not about sex. I don't want to do it and force you to do it if you don't want it. Like, that's never going to be me, right?
Yeah.
I want you to want it, and it's going to mean something. And that's not sappy and like Hallmark card, but like that's where I'm at in my life, right?
Yeah.
And so it sucks because I hear stories like you just told me. It's like where guys are just pushing and trying to control, manipulate situation. And it's like you have no idea how self-sabotaging that is to yourself.
Yes.
You don't even realize. You're gaining
Yes.
what? You're gaining what? 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of sexual pleasure. And you're...
For what?
For what? That you'll have again eventually, hopefully.
There is this great
And you're destroying
Yes.
something that's great.
Yes.
With somebody that's amazing.
So there's a great scene in one of my favorite movies, High Fidelity.
It's not Shawshank Redemption?
No. Great movie, but not on my top 5.
Okay.
And
Interview's over. Thanks, Maggie. Next episode, we're going to have a tin can. Okay, High Fidelity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. There's many, many brilliant scenes in this movie, but there's a scene where, and for those of you that don't know the movie, it's John Cusack.
Yeah.
He's a total dumb man, and he goes and he cheats on his girlfriend. They're in a separation. She breaks up. She's living with another guy, and he decides to go through his top 5 greatest breakups and relationships, and he's gonna go and have these conversations with them. And one of them is his high school sweetheart. And in the way that he's telling the story, the way that he remembers it, is that she just was a cock tease. And they would make out and make out and make out. And he was always pushing and trying for more. And they are now reconnecting. So they're like 15 and they're like in their maybe early 30s. So it's 15-ish minutes later, whatnot, or 15 years later-ish. And they're at dinner and he just blurts it out and he's like, I don't understand. I put in 9 months with you and I didn't get any. And then you date Bobby Flay, whoever it was, and you give it up to him within a week. And she looks up at him and she goes, 'cause I was exhausted from continuously having to fight you off. That he asked and I just gave in because I couldn't fight anymore. So imagine that. Everywhere you go, you are continuously being bombarded and you have to have a wall up. And as women to truly feel safe and to let our feminine energy shine with the person that we love and the person that we want to be with, we need to be able to put our guard down. But if we are continuously having to thwart off these attacks and fight, that's not a calming, relaxing, opening situation. And so I think that's just like a perfect scene. Watch the movie because there's so many brilliant scenes in that movie. But I think that just sums it up perfectly of that feminine energy. I mean, we are continuously all day long having to fight it off.
Okay. Man, there's just so much stuff here, right, to unload. But like, I want to get back to the demise of your marriage, but on this topic, because I don't want it to forget about it, do you feel like because you have so many courters, is that the word? Suitors, right? Men that are trying to get with you.
I'm thinking quarters. I was like, are we going to a gumball machine?
Like courting you.
Courters.
Yeah.
Courtiers.
Courtiers.
Whatever. Yeah.
Men that are hitting you up on social media, through work, wherever, right? Through any sphere that you are in, does that have an effect on how you perceive men that you are actually in a relationship with? Because men are just deliberately, repeatedly hitting you up like, hey, let's hang out. I was one of those guys, right? How does that affect the relationships that you're actually in? Because I know it has to, right?
Yeah. Okay, so actually I have 2 things. One, tying it back to the demise of my marriage is I was constantly fighting
Yeah.
I constantly had to have my walls up, and in order for me to get peace, I had to put my walls down and just give him whatever he wanted. And you start to lose self-respect. And so I could never feel safe in my own feminine energy, that for whatever other things that happened and whatever it was, or the amount of times he cheated on me. I actually showed up our second daughter for a 20-week doctor's appointment when I was pregnant. And I had chlamydia. I was not the one sleeping around. So, there were lots of other things to deal with, but thinking about like me and what I could have done differently in the relationship to honor my true self was that I could never be true in my feminine energy. I never had that safety. In dating, there's actually a couple things, because I am honestly, I don't know how this is going to sound, because I don't think I've said this out loud. I'm continuously punished for the way that other people see me.
That sucks.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because this is something I fight in work as well. Like, my business cards are scented. I am this tall, blonde, happy, energetic, curvy person that walks into the room. I have to be very careful about what I wear. I make sure that I'm not wearing anything where I have cleavage showing or it's too form-fitting. Because I don't ever want anyone to think that the only reason I got to where I am is because I was on that casting couch. Hence why one of the reasons why I never went on a date with you. I wanted to know that I got what I got because I worked for it, not because I fucked somebody to get it. And so I'm very, very careful about that. But at the same time, people see me and are always, and I guess I like keep people guessing, I don't know, but they're like, they don't expect me to be brilliant. And that affects me in two ways, flip-flopping. I feel like I'm a double agent, because I live this one life. I'm a triple agent because I'm this mother, and I'm in this space, and I love it. And there's a commonality between all of it, and I think of it as an upward aligned moving of who I am and the different people. Sometimes I can be loud and, say certain things, and well, there's other places, because my nursing, a hospice nurse, that's a more peaceful, quiet situation. Or in the boardroom, I'm going to be a little more quiet sometimes. So I'm focusing more on these like horizontal movements that pull me out of alignment. And so people are continuously pulling me out of my alignment based on the ideas that they have of who I am.
Which is?
There's 1,000 different versions of them. I'm the dumb party blonde that just wants to, fuck a lot of guys. And honestly, I've been on like 3 dates with one person in the last year. I've actually chosen to be celibate. To focus on my own things and what I want to do, never having the ability to, in my past, after being raped, instead of saying no to people, I just always said yes, because then at least I was saying it, even deep inside I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
Not a good plan, but when you're 17, life,
that's what you
your
think.
brain doesn't work well. And so now this is just a chance to like reset my life and take back all the things that I didn't get before, that I wanted to have the mother, to have, the first time that is something truly beautiful and romantic, and to have the marriage that I deserve, or not the marriage, but the partnership that I deserve. And so a lot of times I think it's just that I'm a dumb party blonde, but because of this and my outgoingness and the social media and the photos that I choose to put out there, everyone just assumes that I'm just in the DMs, messaging all these guys, doing all, and I think that, and I don't blame men for thinking what they might think, that I'm a risk, that I need the attention from the internet and these men more than I need their attention. But the thing is, if you actually talk to me and get to know me, that is not who I am at all. Like, their opinions mean, it's great, and I love the support. But most of I would say probably 9 out of 10 of the DMs that I get are more, thank you for men and women. Thank you so much for being who you are,
kind of potted up
and putting it out there, because it makes me want to be more me. It makes me feel more comfortable in my skin. And that's why I do it. So I think it helps me in dating, because I see those red flags early on. Anybody who mentions, I don't understand why you do the modeling, I'm not even going to continue talking to you, because you already have in your mind what that means to
Presumption
you.
already.
Exactly. But like, ask me. Let's have conversations about it. So it's made dating interesting. I'll say that. I'll say that. Because, or what happens is, and I don't mean this to come off the way that it might come off, I'm like a C-level, what is that, a C-level celebrity or whatnot in Houston?
Yeah.
Like, we go play, people usually already know me before I get to know them. And so, like, we were
But
at
they don't know you.
They know the idea of me.
I can't even imagine, like, I've never eclipsed, like, 10,000 followers on anything ever. And I can't go anywhere in Houston without people knowing who I am. I can't even imagine what somebody like you who has hundreds of thousands, and you've been in movies, you've been on national TV, you've done these big projects, you're friends with Omar.
Most important.
People be like, you're Omar's friend. No, that must fucking be crazy.
It is, especially because I try to keep the two worlds separate.
It's impossible sometimes.
But like, we were at a conference.
They won't let it happen. They won't let it happen.
And that's okay. But we were at a conference in San Antonio, and since everybody was there, and I drove. Everyone came in from the UK and Puerto Rico, all over the place, different companies, and so my car was at the valet, and we went to go check the valet, and the valet man. Do they have a valeter? What is
the valet?
The valet. Did you say the valet?
Yeah.
Okay. The valet gets. Okay. Anyway,
I'm
gonna think about that one later. He was like, "Wait, I'm sorry, you Maggie Judge," and I was like, "Yeah, hi, I'm sorry. Like, how do I know you? Because I forget." And he's like, "Oh, I follow you on Instagram." And I was like, "Oh, great," And then he starts telling the other valeters. And then they all want to take a picture with me. So we're standing there and we're taking pictures and stuff. And, they kind of get the car, and I turn around. There's like 5 people at work, like in MedTech. We're at a MedTech conference. And I turn around and they're like, "What the hell was that?" And I was
because they don't know you from that world.
Yeah. And so the CEO of my company that I was working with at the time, they kind of knew what was going on. I don't hide it, because that does not align with everybody's, mission statement. And I want you to know that, that's out there. So he knew, but some of the people from the other company didn't know. And they're like, "Oh yeah, she's like famous," and then they want to see the pictures and all this stuff. And then I'm just like, and I don't like how sometimes I dim my own light in that moment. But that's a story for another time.
I wouldn't say that you're dimming your own light, but it's not like you're there for business.
Yeah.
And it's going to take away from what the objective is, right?
Yeah.
So don't be so hard on yourself in that situation, because like it happens to me. Like I haven't accomplished a fraction of what you've done, and
Not true.
people will introduce me, and it's like, "Hey, this is my friend Omar. He's the creator of Runway Houston." I'm like,
yeah.
and I'm so much more.
Yeah. No,
right?
I'm a great father.
Yeah, that's what I want to be on the top of my resume. Is like Harper's dad.
Yeah.
And if you look at any of my socials, that's the first thing that you'll see in my bio anywhere, right? And it's like, that's cool. Like I created Runway Houston. Yeah, it became a big fucking thing. Like I understand, I get it, but it's like, I'm more than that. And I don't know if you've been my friend and seen this, but like I would joke that I was a janitor.
Yeah.
Like I'd put that as my job title. I'd introduce myself, "Oh, I'm just a janitor," right? Because I don't want people to think of me any other way than how they are receptive to me as a person. Not Runway Houston,
Preconceived notions,
not Dumb Show,
Yeah.
not Vision House, not all these other things that I've been involved with. Not like I know Astros players, NBA players. Like fuck all that. Like I'm Omar, Harper's dad. Do you like me or not?
Yeah.
Like at any kind of level, guy, girl, whatever, doesn't matter. So I 100% get that. So don't be so hard on yourself, because it's like you're there to do your job in San Antonio, and it's not so much that you're dimming your own lights. It's like it's that's what I do too. Then let's move on.
So what's funny is, I'll show you the hypocrisy of boys. Is that
good thing I'm a man. Man.
There's a difference.
The M stands for man, people.
It should be dumb baba. Change the M to B. The first job I had after I left the bedside nursing full time, I was the director of operations. I moved into the director of operations for a company. And the CEO I think the best way to say it is there are people who want to be the king of kings and they will sacrifice anyone that they can to get to the top, including their true self.
Yep.
Those are people that I don't want anything to do with. I don't care how much money, fame, none of that is important. I want nothing to do with it. That's this, outward alignment. I want inward alignment. And so there was one time towards the end of my tenure with the company, and this was the moment when I was like, nope, I'm out. Because he goes, oh, hey, Mags, like, we want you at this meeting tonight. He's trying to pull some shit that, he is way above and beyond what he's capable of doing. Yeah. So he's trying to build, a smoke screen around him to impress these people. And he's like, I'd really like you to come to this dinner tonight, which it was normal. I'd come to the dinners. And he's like, but I don't want you to talk. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I'm not just the dumb party blonde. I saved your company. I'm the one that found out that your partner had extorted $500,000. Told you about it. And then I left, and that's when you were like, okay, director of operations, someone needs to run it. And I have now quadrupled, like, your profits here. Yeah. And I've launched 4 more verticals under the same umbrella in, like, under 7 months. So, and I've trained your entire, like, I did phenomenal things with this company.
It's all about horizontals.
Yes.
No,
so I'm like, you just want me to sit there and be quiet? I was like, oh, you want model Maggie.
He wants
he was like, yes.
to take credit for your work.
Well, he wanted me to be the pretty girl at the table to flirt with the boys. To get them to want to, like, oh, this is a perk of being with the company. You get to flirt with Maggie or some shit.
Bond girl.
Not even a month later, I get an email from them saying, maybe like 6 weeks later, I get an email from them saying, hey, you know what? We're not sure if this is working out anymore because we have some potential investors who are just not comfortable with your social media presence and your modeling. And I was like, well, that's funny because you seem to be okay with it when we were sitting at the table with the other company and doing all that.
It works until it doesn't.
And I was like, I knew it was just bullshit. He wanted my salary so that he could buy his 6th car, And I was like, it's fine. I'm already out. And that's when I started consulting, and I started my consulting company. So it was the push I needed. But it's continuously that where people are just boys will just take what they want and what they need and how it fits into their life, and they will use you until you're no longer serving a purpose.
Women do that too.
Oh, I'm sure they do, but it's not the dumb woman show.
No, you're right. I'm gonna have you. We've discussed avenues for different talking points on this show.
Because I agree with you. It truly and honestly goes both ways.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
I have to deal with that constantly because of the way that I lived my life, and it's nobody's fault. Like, I painted the picture, so if you see it that way, it's because I painted it that way, and people will only see you in that way. There's Omar. He created Runway Houston. Yeah. He's knows all these models. He's always dating beautiful girls and blah 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 blah, and that's how they know me. They don't know anything else about me, and they can't because that's like their initial perception of me. Yeah. And it sucks because it's like, hey, I'm not that anymore. Or even if I was that in that time, I'm so much more. Like, I'm other things too. But
what a great way to describe it, because I would love to get your thought on this. And because I think at some point we always hide behind our own smoke screens. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking about this actually on the drive here with a different concept. Because
your 1 hour drive here.
Hour and 5 minutes.
I hate the suburbs.
That's the Houston traffic. Is that I really am like an iceberg. That there's this little tip at the top that I share.
Yeah. Do you see 10%?
Or that people see, but there's so much more underneath. But I also have started realizing over the last like maybe 8 or 9 months is I can't blame others for making the judgments that they make when I am hiding that other part underneath. I want to be a mountain, not an iceberg.
But doesn't it feel awesome when they come to that aha moment when they realize, holy shit, yeah. She is. If you put all your cards out on the table at the beginning, yeah, that's a cool resume. But then where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you just say, like, I have this 2 of clubs right here, boom, and then you go, I have a 2 of hearts. Yeah. I have a 2 of diamonds, and I have 2 of spades. Later, and then they're like, whoa, fuck.
There's this amazing poem by Adrienne Rich, and it's diving in the shipwreck. And that's exactly what it's about is she's this iceberg. Well, I mean, she's the shipwreck down below, and she's looking for a scuba diver who's willing to come and and swim amongst the wreckage, and every once in a while, you'll meet some people where you're just showing that 10% and they put on the scuba mask and they go under and they see something. And so it makes those relationships, I think, a little more powerful and a little more meaningful because you didn't have to do anything. Those are your people. Those who you resonated with and you build together.
How many times have you been told, God, you're not like how I thought you'd be?
No, actually, I think
I get that so often. They're like, dude, Omar, you are actually smart. You are, a nice person. You are this. I didn't think you'd be that way from the perception that I had before I met you. And that must happen with you.
People don't say it. It's a look. I know when I get the look. When we have a conversation and then they do this and they're like.
I wish you could have like sound effects in real life. It's like,
yeah.
like that TikTok noise. That.
Exactly. Where they do this like, I think what I hear the most though is I'm trouble. Good trouble.
Good trouble.
Good trouble. I hear that one a lot. Or they're like, oh, I'm in trouble. And I'm like, oh, are you?
Oh, because.
You're trouble.
You're trouble, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
That's just.
Yeah.
Cheesy.
I agree. I hate that.
Not creative.
And then someone said, I'm like, yeah, like I haven't heard that before. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that's what I need. I think the hardest part, and this
That's
is...
what an unclever person thinks is like a nice icebreaker.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, what do you think I'm going to say? Let me show you how much trouble I am, baby. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? Like, seriously, get out of here with that garbage.
I think the hardest part, thinking about, like, being in the sunshine over here, like, on your own, and realizing not everyone's there, is this honesty. I really can handle anything. Just be honest with me at the beginning. You're like I remember the first man I dated after my marriage. We had that conversation, and even I was a giant mess. Hence the people that I dated. Sorry, love you guys. You helped make me who I am today, so I'm very grateful for that.
Good thing I'm not one of them.
See? Same thing. I don't want to be one of your many women.
I mean.
We're like, after like 4 months, it comes out of the closet where I'm like, why are you always like nitpicking on these like little, and you just can't let it go. And then and I break up with it. I'm like, I'm done. And he's like, please don't leave me. I'm addicted to Adderall. And I'm just like, well, what the fuck? Like, if you would have told me at the beginning, maybe we could have worked through it. But I hate when the boys do that. Where they
it's
push
a last-ditch
you.
effort.
Yes, and it's like, oh no, still love me. Like, no.
No, homie.
No. If you could have told me before, don't make me feel bad.
Yeah,
you weren't honest. Yes. Those skeletons in the closet. So actually, I have a friend who told me this years ago, that my biggest problem in dating is that I am too honest. And I to this day still disagree. She's remarried now, so maybe I'm doing it wrong. That's okay. I don't care. She has an amazing man. I love her husband. It's great. But for me...
Wait, she married me and I didn't even know it? Am I married? What the hell?
Is that a problem? Like the honesty. And I think that a lot of people, that forces you to have to be honest with yourself.
Honest to a fault.
Who you are, what you want, and what you do. And I know who I am. And I put it out there and I know what I want. And, like, that's okay. I don't want you to waste my time, and I don't want to waste your time.
Okay. Do you know what you want? Well, hold on. The reason I'm asking is because you said, out of your own words, is that you have a hard time believing that you deserve great and honest love. So I have to ask, do you really know what you want? Because if you say that, then the other can't be true. Because I think you deserve anything, just because I know your story and how you struggled through all of your trials and tribulations. Being raped, not graduating high school, getting your GED, and getting your degree. With all of this adversity, being pregnant and, going to the board and having to prove your innocence because they thought you were cheating, like, you deserve it all, kid. Like, I'm telling you. And I know that there are people that are out there that also believe it, but do you know that you deserve it? Because you do.
Thank you. It's very new.
Okay.
But I think that knowing and believing are two totally different things. You can know something, but maybe it doesn't mean you believe it. And now those lines are blurring together for me.
Because what's it going to take? Because, like...
Hence the not dating for a year and the choosing the celibacy. Because before, I'm like you. I am a single woman. My children are always taken care for. I work really fucking hard
By the way,
to get where I am.
You are a great mom.
Thank you.
I see your stories, and you're like always doing some cool shit with your kids.
Thank you.
So I saw you guys doing the dinosaur thing.
Oh, it was awesome.
I took Harper on Monday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I saw your story. I was like, I didn't know it was open because I go. That's the theater that I go to. That's the movie theater that I go to, and I see it because they always have different kind of things there. And
did she love it?
Oh my god,
so much.
Somebody's not following me on Instagram. Obviously,
it's been a crazy work week. I haven't been in anywhere anything.
I posted her reaction. It's like that's what I live for. Like seeing her smile and oh my god, there's a dinosaur daddy. So
Yeah.
But no. You are a tremendous mom.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry to cut you off.
They're my best friends.
But I needed you to know that.
Thank you.
That you being a great mom had an effect at least on one person because it literally made me change my plans of what I was going to do with Harper on Monday, and we went and did that based on you doing that.
That makes me so happy.
So it has an effect on others. Like it has a positive effect.
And I see that. And the biggest thing that I've been working on is all of these people my whole life, starting with my mother, would just putting out my light. People who want to control my light and my energy. And people ask me all the time, they're like, how can you be so happy and so light and bubbly all the time? And I'm like, because I've literally had to pull myself from the depths of hell so many times that I'm now finally in the sunshine, and there is no fucking way I'm ever going back there again. And nobody is going to steal my peace. I believe in working together, and this isn't I'm more important than the people that I choose to be in my inner circle and the people I choose to have those relationships with. It is definitely equal and balanced, but nobody is going to take that peace from me ever again. And so I'm like, wait, what question did you ask? Because he threw me off with the Harper part. But I love that. And I feel like that's now like understanding what I deserve. Yeah. The hardest part is that giving that light. And I call it being a lighthouse. I actually wrote a poem about this a couple of years back. I won Poet of the Month. Geez. I won Poet of the Month.
They're all like water-based.
And
the
stuff.
Shipwreck, the Lighthouse.
I do love water. It's actually my happy places where I recharge, sunshine and water. And that's actually how I meditate. I meditate with the waves and the sunshine, and it helps keep me balanced. But there's this...
Maybe you're a siren.
A muse.
A siren.
A siren?
The ones that are in the
water.
But
I think they're bad.
Yeah.
And sirens bad?
I was joking.
Yeah. And then they kill everybody. I don't want to do that. I want to shed my light.
So
it's being able to
joke.
it was a bad joke.
Terrible
okay?
joke.
See?
Womp womp.
It was a dumb joke.
It was dumb. Okay, go ahead.
It's being able to just shed that light, share that light. And knowing that because I'm sharing my light with you, if you want to throw by me putting that light inside of you, it's pushing out your darkness. I don't have to take on that darkness. And I am now finally at a place where I feel the energy and the power coming back from when I share that light with people, and I know that I'm bringing some type of great moments into their life, that when it comes back, that re-energizes me, because it happens in other ways because of my story. Again, I dropped out of high school, and I'm the first person in my family, both sides, aunt, uncles, cousins, to go to college. Our fourth daughter was born 5 days before my last semester of nursing school started. I went back when she was 2 weeks old. I left my now ex-husband when she was 5 months old. And I don't have family here. I didn't do anything. And I raised those kids on my own for the first 3 years. Now we have split custody, which is great because, again, he's their father and they need to have that in their life. Our story's our story. That's their story. So it's been a lot, just working through and kind of getting to that point. But it feels aligned. It feels right. Good. I don't know if I answered your question.
You said a lot of words.
Because we went in the middle and you threw me off with the Harper. Oh.
Well, no, it was the whole do you believe you deserve good love? Good.
I do.
You should. Because you said that was one of the hard things that you're dealing with right now.
There was someone that I met last year, actually. And up until that moment, I didn't believe it. We're not dating. We're not doing anything, but we met. And and I could feel it, the energy of the universe and the way that it has pulled us together. And I've said it since day one, there's something there. Even if it was just, he made me up my game. I realized that when I met him, that is what I want.
It's awesome
But
to meet
if
that
I'm
person.
living my life the way that I am now, I am not living in my true authenticity of me thinking that I deserve that love. And that really did launch me into this next level of like I need to dive into my cave, and I need to learn how to sit with my demons and my sadness and my pain and my anger and my fears. And I need to know that my fear is actually a light guiding me to what I really want. And I have to stop being afraid of it, and I need to go for it. And so that's where I've been like this last year. So even if that's what he was to bring to me, that's great. But because of him and that, and these situations that we've been in over the last year, it really helps just push me there.
Good.
And get me there to believe I do deserve it.
You said that you like, how is that dating as a single mom? I know you said you've been into celibacy for like a year now, but like you have 4 kids, 3 of them are pretty grown. You have a younger one, 9, but they're not a baby.
Yeah.
So you're like hanging out with your kids now. You're not like taking care of them. I
Yeah.
mean, you are taking care of them, but you're not like taking care of them.
Yeah.
What's that like being a single mom? Because like for me, like I am a parent, but like if somebody doesn't have kids, how does that affect? Because like that's a lot. Like going
Yeah.
into it, it's like, oh, she doesn't have just 1 kid. She doesn't have 2 kids. She didn't have 3. She has 4. She needs 1 more. She got a basketball team, right? Is that like push a lot of guys away? Does that scare them?
I don't know. I date a little differently. I'm not like a typical single mom that, is looking
No way.
for a baby daddy, kind of like somebody to come in and take over that role. So I guess when I date for myself. But I will say,
But I mean, if it becomes, I have to cut you off. That's selfish, because if it becomes
Yeah.
tangible and real, and you guys fall in love and potentially
So
get
I
married or
will say
whatever,
this,
right?
yes.
It involves your kids.
Yes.
So you can't just date for yourself. You have
so
to
that's
date
where I've been.
for your family.
And that was me saying to myself, I don't actually deserve that great love
Yeah.
because I'm choosing things that I know aren't going to transfer over.
Not to say that you don't
And-
deserve that, but
But that was me.
they're involved in your
Yes,
life. They're part of your
yes.
life, and they
But-
always will be.
But that's me choosing to date a man that I know doesn't want kids and doesn't want to be involved with my kids. I know that that's never going to go anywhere. So that was me
So I do it.
making a react out of fear because I didn't actually ever want to find myself in a position of
there we go.
of all of that
Yeah.
and knowing my past. So part of this last year has been a lot of what you're doing. There's been, 3 men that I have dated in these 9 years. It's been 9 years since I left my ex-husband. Our youngest was 5 months old. That I dated. And one of them, I was lucky enough that our conversations had taken place on Facebook Messenger. So I had the fun pleasure of going back and reading all of the messages.
Isn't that crazy? Going
Yeah.
back and seeing stuff like that.
Because we were friends for about a year before we dated. And then we dated for about 8 months. And then separated for maybe 8 months, and then we're back together for a few months. So there was a lot of, and we talked all day, every day. We really were like best friends. And in so many ways, it was absolutely perfect. And I did my high fidelity moment where I went back to like my top 5. And going through and reading all of that was like a giant
Eye-opening.
slap in the face. I needed it so much, to the point where now I'm actually going back to these men and apologizing. One of the last messages he ever sent me was, I know you think like, because my whole thing was like, you're just dating me for the kids, like you're playing house with us, like, and this isn't okay.
Yeah.
And he goes, Maggie, I love those kids because all of the things I love about you, I see in them. And like, that's
Oh my gosh.
amazing. And I just was like, nope. And I ended it,
In
and
that
I cut him
moment.
off, and I was just, nope, we're not doing this. The first time we dated, he wasn't really ready to come through, and I see it. I see it all now. I was not in alignment, and I didn't believe that I deserved it, so I did things that kept pushing him away.
You were in the corn maze.
The corn maze. Yep.
We all are in the corn maze at one point or another.
Yeah.
And it's not until you're out of the corn maze that you see it.
Yeah. And
It's
then you look back. Yeah.
it's like, dude, I was so close
Yeah.
to getting out.
Yeah.
Or I was so deep that I didn't
Yep.
even, but you don't know that perspective because it's higher than you.
Yep.
You're in the middle of it.
Yep.
The corn maze is a motherfucker.
Yep. So now I feel like it's like AA. I'm like, I need to go back and just be like, I mean, there's men that I've dated that like they, it casted, some trauma onto me.
Yeah.
That just a few little words would be nice, and I feel like they deserve that. They're not easy conversations to have. There's 3. I've already had 1.
I'm so glad I'm not one of those. Because I don't know how that would have. God.
But
Omar, you were a piece of shit. The end.
I mean, we did it. You've taken it to the next level. You're sending out questionnaires to people asking, like, how did I, do you wrong? It's not dating, but it's still relationships.
No, yeah.
So the dating has been interesting because now, like, I really love our home. It's like a sorority house because it's not just my kids that are there.
Oh, I know. You sent me a video once and there were like
15 kids there.
Yeah, I was like,
and I love it.
What the hell?
No,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's like, damn, dude, that would.
No, these kids come. They call me mom. They're like, and many times.
My mom was the cool mom.
Yeah, and it's not because I'm letting them drink and smoke pot in the house.
No,
it's just there's a lot of love there, and I can't tell you how many conversations I've had until 4 a.m. One night there was and this is how early it starts. They were 13.
No. I have to have you back. This is going to be like a
3-hour
episode.
I'm just saying it real fast that this girl was 13, and I hear her say like, "Oh, I was with my boyfriend, and we're kind of kissing, and he wants to do more, and I say no, and he doesn't listen." And I was like, "Hell no!" It's 1 a.m. already. And we sat on the kitchen floor until 4 a.m.
I did not want to have sex when I was 13.
Talking about this. Most boys lost their virginity about that age, and it was usually with an older woman.
I could have.
It's insane.
Oh, no. I totally could have lost my virginity in high school a few times, right? And I was just terrified. Like, I'm glad because, like, for me, it was like, well, what if I suck? What if I'm too little? What if I'm this? What if I'm that? And then what's going to happen the next day at school? Everybody's going to fucking know.
Yeah.
So, like, I at least was mature enough to acknowledge that. I'm like, thank God I'm amazing in bed. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. But no, yeah, like, everybody's just trying to rush to do this. I'm like, dude, no. Okay, I don't want to stray because, like, I feel like I could talk to you forever.
Yes. Keep me on track.
When did it turn around for you and you realized that you wanted to make these changes in your life? Like, what was that spark? Because I can tell you right now, for me, I will forever look at September 2022 as literally the best month of my life and the worst month of my life at the same time.
So
September 2022 was that month for me.
Yeah.
It was such a shift, and I had to pull myself out of myself and look at myself externally and not be biased because I'm me and I want to see myself in a good way. I had to be like, I'm not Omar anymore.
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself externally. Man, he is fucked.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was that bad part. And then realizing that and making that immediate shift. It wasn't like gradual. It was like, I got to start making changes. It was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm changing. Towards the latter part of that month, and then some things that were resolved with one of my previous guests, Tammy, who's an ex-girlfriend of mine. A lot of things changed, and then I made the decision to end Runway Houston. I was like, okay, I'm on track. That was the worst and best month of my life at the same time.
So it's funny. So I would say December-ish of 2021, November-ish.
Yeah.
It got to a point where, like, I had done all this work and I needed to heal. I was very lucky because I was running my own consulting firm, and I decided to get rid of all my clients except one, and I slept a lot. Actually, for about a year. All I did was sleep. Like, I would take my kids to school and I would come home and the couple meetings I needed to do, and I would go back to sleep. And I would remember talking to a friend, I'm like, am I depressed? What's going on? And she's like, Maggie, like, you have just unboxed like a lifetime, 30 plus years of just trauma and insanity. Rest. Like, the universe has set you up in this moment to just be peaceful and to just rest. And then December of 2022, I had this, it just clicked. There was nothing that happened.
4 months ago.
I'm sorry, 2021.
Got
so
it.
then we'll push it all back. December of 2021. I was like, you know what? I just can't live like this anymore. Like, I have to, and I started learning about, like, my human design and this whole living balance with, like, my sacral voice. I'm not listening to my sacral voice. And that's our internal, like, whatever you want to call it, our intuition, all those things. it's guiding me, and I'm fighting it always to just end up right where it wants me to be. So I was like, from this point on, I am going to listen to my sacred voice. Universe, I am listening to you, and even if I don't agree, I'm going to do the things that you're telling me to do. Flash forward to March, a few months later, where I met the man that I, had mentioned to you, and it was a very loud sacral voice scream. Like, I've never experienced anything like that before, and there's been one other moment where something has gotten pretty close to that since, and it happened in September of 2022.
But we didn't see each other then.
I know, but we were still there at the same time.
No, I'm kidding.
And so in March of 2022, that's when it really, like I said, it kind of kicked me to that next level to really like start letting go of the fear and letting go of all the ropes that are pulling me back and to move forward. And I have a whole analogy, and I'm not going to use it right now because it's a whole thing, and it ties into William Blake, one of my favorite painter poets. And
We're gonna have a no poetry rule when you come on again.
Impossible. Life is poetry. That's what makes life worth living.
Blech.
Poetry, the
Blech.
romance,
Blech.
all of it.
I'm kidding.
And then in September of 2022, I was in London for a conference, and I was
in New York.
My flight was like 6 days from when the conference ended. And I had no idea where I was going to go. And everyone's like, where are you going? What are you doing? I was like, I literally do not have a flight booked. My return flight is not for 6 days back to Texas. And it's from London, but I don't know. I might go to Portugal. I might do this. But I have a feeling that on this trip, I am not coming back with all of this shit. All of the baggage is being left. I was going to go to some island in Portugal, and I was going to just cry in front of this waterfall and then swim and baptize myself in the waters, in these Azores Islands. And then I met somebody who is now the CEO of the company that I work for. And he's like, is that true? Like, you have nothing to do? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, that's probably the coolest thing I've ever heard. FYI, I'm going to Jerusalem for the Jewish New Year to celebrate with my family. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, no, you're a complete stranger. I just met you. I'm not doing that. And the second I said it, my body got so heavy and sad. I thought I was going to be sick. Like, it was so strong. And maybe a minute goes by, and I was like, all right, I hear you. Please don't let me die. And I'm like, okay. Like, and I chatted with some friends before that, and they were like, go. And one of the girls, she's like, I was actually just in Jerusalem. It's very safe. Like, I was there like 6 months ago. Go. So, sorry, my allergies are really bad today. So I decided, I go, yes, I'm going to go. And instantly, it was like all that darkness was replaced with all this sunshine and this light. And I had one of the greatest spiritual awakenings. And I'm not a religious person. I am agnostic. I believe in a higher power. I believe in trusting in all of this. But everything that I needed to experience that I needed on that trip, I had in this moment in Jerusalem. And it changed my life. And everything since then has just been this forward momentum of staying in alignment with my true self. So it wasn't just one moment. There were several little moments. Because then I can also go back to a moment with my children in my marriage where my 5-year-old, my oldest, who was 5 or 6 at the time, and she was like talking back to me, and I put her in a timeout, and I'm like, you cannot talk to me that way. And she looks up at me, and she's like, why not? Dad does. And I just lost it. And I'm like, it's the same as like your parent, when they're smoking a cigarette and they're like, don't smoke, it's bad for you, And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm telling them to choose a man of honor and to be women of honor when I'm not being a woman of honor.
Yeah.
I didn't choose a man of honor. And I was like, okay, like there's balls in motion. So there's so many of them.
Right in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta cut it off soon.
We're done.
We're not done. We're gonna have to. There's just so much there, and like I feel like I'm gonna get into sappy mode now. It's because you have such a huge following, and you've accomplished so much, and you've overcome so much. You are a beacon, right? There's a lot of people that can look at you, and if they know more about you than superficial things, your aesthetics of your Instagram or a perception that they have that they've formulated in their own mind, if they just dig a little deeper or actually get to know you, and I know that's not feasible and possible for anybody just to come and get to know you on a personal level, but you have articles that are written that people have interviewed you, people can look at this podcast. There's so much more there, right? And you're very accomplished, and you've done it yourself. So honestly, as a man, son, boy, that was raised by a strong woman, that did it on her own.
Yeah.
I tip my hat to you.
Thank you.
Figuratively and literally. It's not easy at all. You've done it. You are doing it. There's just, that's what I hope people see about you.
Thank you.
Because you are multifaceted in so many different arenas. And I could just go on and on just praising you. But like, seriously, this show is about the dumb shit men do. I was one of those dumb dudes that was in your sphere, that saw you a certain way, thought that things could happen a certain way because of my perception of you, right? And so anybody listening to this, even if it just doesn't directly relate to Maggie, as it relates to any woman that is in your sphere that you have a perception of, don't let that tarnish or guide that path with that woman, whether it can be anything of substance or not, right? Get to know that person first.
Yeah.
Don't let that be your hope, your anticipation, your expectation, because you'll find that there's so much more on the other side once you've gotten to know that person.
Yeah.
So thank you for being that person, one of those people in my life that have made me realize. And like I said, when you said that, the thing that I've done to you, it really, like you said, you had your high fidelity moment when you went and looked at your email or your message with that guy.
Yeah.
So thanks again for being a guest on this episode. I have to have you back. And there's so much more to dig into. And I mean, we didn't even talk about like what it's like for your figure. Like, because I know there's a lot of stuff there that people have perceptions of, being a curvier model. We didn't get into your acting at all.
I'm just a fetish. I'm just someone to hang on your arm.
So,
and they're like, wait, you have thoughts too?
So we'll definitely have you back. And I'm thinking you could probably host this show sometime.
Oh.
And, you know, bring on a guest that you want to talk to somebody about. But yeah, that's a discussion for another day. Maggie Judge, thank you so much for being the guest today on The Dumb Show. Appreciate it. And guys, if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, notification bell, all that stuff. Leave a comment. Let us know what you want to talk about in the comments. Subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we appreciate your support. And this has been another episode of The Dumb Show. I'm Omar Marcos. Thanks for listening, guys.